In the year 1645, in a dark, damp cave known as the Regando, the greatest swordsman to ever live sat waiting for death. His name was Miyamoto Musashi. He was old. His body, which had survived over 60 lethal duels, was finally failing him. His sword arm, once capable of cutting down dozens of men in a single afternoon, had begun to tremble. But his mind remained sharp, crystalline, and in that absolute crushing solitude he wrote down the principles that had guided him through a lifetime of undefeated combat. He called it the Dokudo, the way of walking alone. 21 rules for a man who refuses to follow the crowd. Most people will never read these rules. They will live their entire lives chasing what everyone else is chasing. They will want what everyone else wants. They will fear what everyone else fears, and they will die having never truly lived. But you are not most people. You are here because something inside you knows that there is another way, a harder way, a way that demands everything from you and gives nothing back except the knowledge that you lived according to your own code. The Dokudo is not a philosophy for the weak. It is not a modern self-help book. It is a battle plan for the mind. And if you are willing to let these principles reshape how you think and act, you will understand why a man who killed over 60 opponents in single combat spent his final days writing about the way of walking alone. Accept everything just the way it is. This is where the path begins. Do not seek to possess things. Do not cling to outcomes. Musashi understood something that most modern men have entirely forgotten. Attachment is the root of weakness. When you desperately need a specific outcome to happen, you have already lost. When you are desperate for a result, for a promotion, for a text back, for external validation, you have handed over your power. The man who walks alone does not need the world to validate him. He does not need others to approve of his choices. He does not need success to feel like a man. This is not indifference. This is ultimate freedom. Think about your own life. How much of your energy is spent trying to control things you cannot control? How much of your peace is sacrificed on the altar of outcomes you are not guaranteed to achieve? Musashi tells us to accept that you cannot control the world. Accept that people will misunderstand you. Accept that you will face failure and rejection. And in that radical acceptance, you become unshakable. You become dangerous, because a man who has nothing to lose and accepts reality exactly as it is a man who cannot be stopped. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. In Musashi's time, there were men who spent their lives chasing wine, women, and wealth. They told themselves they were living. They were not. They were slaves. Slaves to their appetites, slaves to their desires, slaves to the opinions of others who judged them by their possessions and their conquests. Musashi walked an entirely different path. He pursued mastery. He pursued understanding. He pursued the absolute perfection of his craft. Everything else was just noise. Modern men face the exact same temptation, only the traps are far more sophisticated today. We have infinite entertainment at our fingertips. We have platforms designed by engineers to hijack our attention and drip-feed us cheap dopamine. We have a culture that celebrates excess and calls it freedom. But Musashi knew the truth. Pleasure, when chased as a goal, is a prison. The more you chase it, the more it controls you. The man who walks alone does not deny himself all pleasure, but he absolutely does not make it his purpose. He does not organize his life around weekend escapes or cheap thrills. He uses his energy to build, to forge his mind, and to sharpen his blade. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Ego is the enemy of the warrior. When you think heavily of yourself, you become fragile. You take every insult personally. You perceive every setback as an attack on your character. You become obsessed with how you look, how you are perceived, and whether or not people respect you. This obsession with the self creates a blind spot. It makes you slow. It makes you reactive. Musashi survived 60 duels because he was not thinking about how glorious he looked while fighting. He was thinking deeply of the world around him. He observed his opponent's footwork. He noticed the angle of the sun. He felt the direction of the wind. He was completely detached from his own ego, which allowed him to be entirely present in reality. To walk alone in the modern world, you must kill your ego. Stop worrying about your reputation. Your reputation is just a ghost that lives in other people's heads. Instead, look outward. Study your craft. Study human nature. Study the mechanics of the world. When you stop obsessing over yourself, you unlock the ability to see everything with devastating clarity. Do not harbor resentment or enmity toward yourself or others. This is where most men fail. They carry grudges like heavy stones in their pockets, and they wonder why they cannot move freely. They replay arguments in their heads. They hate the people who wronged them, and worse, they hate themselves for their past failures. Musashi says, "Let it go, drop the stones." Not because the other person deserves your forgiveness, not because what they did was right, but because holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It destroys you from the inside out. It clouds your judgment. It makes you weak. When you walk alone, you cannot afford to be weak. You cannot afford to be distracted by old wounds. You must be clear. You must be focused. And you cannot be free while you are chained to the past. Take the lesson from the betrayal. Take the lesson from the failure and release the emotion. You become harder, not bitter. Do not hold on to possessions you no longer need. We are weighed down by our things. We buy things we don't need, with money we don't have, to impress people we don't even like. And slowly, the things we own end up owning us. We become terrified of losing our status symbols. Musashi traveled with almost nothing. He had his swords, his clothes, and his mind. Because he had nothing to protect, he was free to move anywhere, fight anyone, and adapt to any situation. Look around your life. Look at the clutter in your room, the clutter on your phone, the clutter in your schedule. Strip it away, become lean. The less baggage you carry, the faster you can move toward your ultimate purpose. The way of walking alone requires a ruthless minimalism of both physical objects and mental distractions. Never stray from the way. This is the final and most important directive. The way is your purpose. It is your craft. It is the uncompromising standard to which you hold yourself when absolutely no one is watching. There will be days when you are tired. There will be days when the crowd begs you to join them in mediocrity. There will be days when you question why you are putting yourself through this suffering while everyone else is comfortable. In those moments, you must remember the old man in the cave. You must remember that comfort is the enemy of greatness. The path of walking alone is not about being a hermit. It is about emotional and mental independence. It is about forging a spirit so strong that it does not crack under the pressure of the world. Master your mind, master your craft, and walk your path relentlessly until the very end.